following program is brought to you by the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. The League of Women Voters is a national, nonpartisan organization established to encourage citizen participation in government. It never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. The statements and opinions of the candidates are presented in the interest of public service and in no way are to be construed as endorsement thereof by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters takes no responsibility for any of the views or facts stated by the candidates.
Good evening and welcome to this forum for the West Bloomfield Township election. Today is July 19, 2016. This forum will be featuring those candidates who have filed for treasurer for the Township of West Bloomfield. Sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. I am Jerry Burton, president of the League of Women Voters, and I do not live in this district. As a member of the League of Women Voters, is a trusted national, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate or political party, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have an opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this that has great impact on local, state, and national issues. If you're interested in learning about the League, you can pick up some literature tonight or contact our website, lwvoa.org. The League of Women Voters does not support any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. The forum for this format has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask the audience remain silent during the forum. Please turn off all cell phones. We ask the candidates answer the questions with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The candidates will be answering questions from the audience, screened for duplication and appropriateness by John McGarry, a League member. Pages will be circulating with paper and pencil. If you want to write a question, raise your hand and they'll get you paper and pencil. The candidates will be given a 1-minute opening statement in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question in rotation unless extended by the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer the questions. Our timer is Judy Bateman, a League member. The candidates for treasurer are: vote for one for his 4-year term. Muhommed, Hussain, Democrat. Teri, Adelberg, Weingarden, Democrat. Also on the ballot, but not here tonight, is Gary Morof. Opening statements will begin with Mr. Hussain.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity this evening to introduce myself and my candidacy. I, as you are aware of, obviously, I've been introduced as Muhammad Hussain, and I am of Indian descent. I was born here and educated here in this country, and lived in this community for the last 17 plus years, and currently own a successful business which provides engineering procurement services as well as capital project funding. And what got me interested in this role is specifically in terms of providing transformational and significant improvement as to how the township operates. And besides my treasury expertise, in terms of finance and accounting from the corporate world, I'm coming out of the corporate world with 22 years of experience under my skill sets. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weingarden.
Hi, my name is Treasurer Teri, Adelberg, Weingarden. I usually go by Teri Weingarden. I am so pleased to be here tonight. I wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for having this wonderful opportunity, and I wanted to thank all the people here in the audience tonight. It's good to see so many friendly faces, and wanted to thank the people out there watching. I have been your treasurer for the last 8 years. I'm very proud to serve you. I know that as a public servant, my job is to work for you. I never forget that. I enjoy working with residents on a daily basis and helping them with all their different concerns and questions. I have made sure that since taking office, I've continued to train myself, and I am a certified public treasurer, and I'm also a certified public funds investment manager. I've gone through both the basic and the advanced institutes. So I will continue to serve you and grow as a professional in the field if I'm lucky enough to be voted into office again. Thank you.
Thank you. As is league policy, if a party is unable to attend due to an emergency or work, we will read a statement. Mr. Morof has submitted a statement. I'm so sorry I cannot be here tonight, but I have a family emergency. My name is Gary Morof, and I'm running for treasurer of West Bloomfield Township. I wanted to start by saying thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important event. I want to give you a little bit of background on myself. I am a certified public accountant, grew up in Southfield, and attended Michigan State University, where I majored in accounting. I went to start my own successful accounting practice in West Bloomfield over 20 years ago. My wife Sherry and I have lived in West Bloomfield for over 22 years, where we have raised our two amazing children. Now I'm hoping to take what I have learned through my career and bring it to our township, helping to grow and move West Bloomfield forward in a positive direction. I'm running because it is time to bring back a sense of civility and positive decorum to our township. It is time to end the political turmoil and fighting that has surrounded our township board over recent years. As a successful business owner and the only CPA running for office, I'm confident I'm the right person for the job. It is time to change our treasurer's office, and that change starts with Gary Morof. Thank you, and please vote August 2nd, and be sure to check out my website, electgarymorof.com. We will now start our questions, and our first question will be with Mr. Hussain. In the interest of the residents of West Bloomfield, how do you approach the choice of development versus maintaining the environment?
Well, first of all, the maintaining aspect of it comes first, because it's maintenance and sustenance, which is already in place. And development pretty much, goes along in terms of parallel effort. But you will have to prioritize and understand in terms of development whether they are sustainable for the long term. In terms of, we have a lot of development efforts that goes on, and in terms of whether it's infrastructure or building projects with no tenancy. And I understand that it brings in revenue, but that's how we'll have to, what I believe in is that weigh out the risks versus the reward, and ultimately in the long run it has to be a long-term approach.
Thank you, Ms. Weingarden.
Thank you so much. So they're both very important issues, and they can work together. West Bloomfield is a community that is very rich. We have beautiful woodlands and wetlands. I myself get to enjoy kayaking regularly. We have wonderful parks and nature trails, and we can keep all of that. There is no reason why we can't have a really successful development section of the community in our business center area and still have our beautiful woodlands and wetlands. So what we need to always do is make sure we're following all the ordinances and rules. We have probably the strictest environmental ordinances of any community I know, and they're important. But what we've done as a township board over the last 8 years is really looked at our downtown Orchard Lake corridor and tried to figure out the best way to make improvements while still making sure we keep the environment safe. And I think that we're really making huge strides in making it a very attractive place for businesses, but still making sure that we're managing our stormwater and other areas that could affect our natural environment. Thank you.
Mr. Hussain, the next question, we will start with Ms. Weingarden. Do you support West Bloomfield participating Welcome Cities Initiative?
Absolutely. I was the lucky person in charge of the Welcoming Cities community meeting, and I have to say I could not have been more proud of the people that stood up and spoke in favor of the Welcoming Cities project. It was a hostile room, And I think that the residents that shared their viewpoints were very brave to do so. We live in a beautifully diverse community here in West Bloomfield. That's certainly why I choose to, with my husband, raise our 2 daughters here. And I've always been very impressed with the diversity in our public school system, which is excellent. And I'm so proud to live in this kind of community. I would really love to see more people on our different boards and commissions from a diverse background. And I also look forward to having people on our township board as well. I think the more viewpoints you have, the better. And I think it's a strength of West Bloomfield and certainly not at all a negative. I welcome people to stay involved and take an active role. And I think this is a very important thing. Thank you.
Mr. Hussain.
I certainly agree with that in terms of welcoming city, because that opens up and also draws new residents into this community, as well as our rich resource in terms of lakes and trails and so forth, so on. Those are the positive attributes, and maintaining going forward, maintaining the effort in terms of welcoming city. It definitely is. I accept that wholeheartedly. So.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Hussain, and this will be a 3-part question. I'll give you a minute and a half.
Okay.
What does the treasurer do? Why was the treasurer's job cut in the last 8 years? And what is education and training do you have that would help you do this job?
Okay, as you may know from the website of League of Women Voters, I have undergrad as well as an auxiliary MBA from Wharton, and I am a postdoctoral candidate. I finished my doctorate degree, so I know these are, all of them together are pretty much an overqualification for this role. But I have had the responsibilities as a vice president of administration and finance for a multi-billion-dollar division of a Fortune 50 company. So that qualifies me for the role. And I'm going back to the question in terms of what are the treasurer's function. Treasurer's function is, some of it has been obviously been stripped. And I'll get to that, but treasurer's functions consist of maintenance of fund, forecasting, as well as liquidity and asset management. And so these are from the corporate side, and obviously investment and so forth, so on. AR/AP, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payroll. But those are the typical, treasurer's office or office of the finance and administration, administration's responsibilities had been. Now, as I hear in regards to what I have learned in terms of not proper management of the fund, that's what why was the reason that some of the functional aspect of the treasurer's responsibilities was removed.
Thank you, Ms. Weingarden.
Thank you. Actually, a lot of people think that the treasurer runs the finance department or should be a certified public accountant. That's actually not true. The treasurer is really the banking side. In township government, there has to be 2 sides for checks and balances. So I'm the cash side of the business. I do all the investing. I handle every type of money that goes in or out of the township. So I transfer all funds. I take in money for taxes, water, sewer, dog licenses, you name it, we take it in. And then once we've taken all the money in and put it into the system, then on the accounting side, we make sure that it's going into the general ledger correctly and the checks and balances do the amounts match. And every audit since I've been in office, the amounts match. Actually, the last audit we just had was a perfect audit, which is a wonderful testament to both my department and the finance department for working and doing daily balances and monthly reconciliations. And this is a very important process. As far as the job being cut, actually, that is not true. Statutorily, so by law, there is no way a township board can cut any duties of the township treasurer in the law. So by statute, no duties can be cut. That was definitely a misrepresentation. As far as Education, as I mentioned, I do have a bachelor's from University of Michigan and a master's from Wayne State University, and I also am a certified public funds manager and a certified public treasurer. I actually have conducted training at Treasurers Institute for other treasurers, so I have significant education in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Weingarden. The states, cities, villages, and townships have lost a collective $7.5 billion in statutory revenue since 2002. The last year it was fully funded. How do you get the state to pay the minimum annual revenue sharing payments to local governments required by the state constitution?
Boy, if I have the answer to that question, I could run for president. Well, there always had been two types of state shared revenue, constitutional and statutory. And yes, we lost a big bucket of money. The school systems have also lost a lot of money. I am a very active participant in the Michigan Treasurers Association, and the township, including all board members, is involved in the Michigan Municipal Township Association. And we fight hard to have our voices heard with these associations, as do these associations fight hard to try to make sure the state's giving us our dollars. Just like the schools, it's hard. By law, they have to give us some of the money, but any money that they do not have to provide to the township by law, in recent years, they're not providing. They have this whole dashboard that a lot of smaller communities have been able to kind of meet their benchmarks and get these funds, but our community was not even eligible. So if anyone has the answer to that question, let us know, and we'll let MMTA know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hussain.
Yes, well, it's always, I come from the corporate world, and I have dealt with federal government and so forth, so on, various other private and public sector, and it's just like Teri has mentioned, it's sometimes it takes collaborative and cohesive discussion, not 1, 2, or 3 times, but justifying it, justifying the needs for that, and that obviously is in the process, and there are obviously justifiable reasons that the state may reject those depending on their capital budget. But that's basically what negotiation, collaboration, and open communication helps in achieving those goals.
Thank you. Next question. We'll start with Mr. Hussain. Is there a percentage of homes still in foreclosure? And is the county doing anything to help us in this matter?
As far I know that there are foreclosed property, but depending on the location, in terms of where where West Bloomfield is, there are obviously individuals that are buying those foreclosed properties and refabbing it or remodeling it and bringing it to the market. But to be open and upfront is that I don't maintain a list of the foreclosed property list. So.
Thank you, Ms. Weingarden.
Foreclosure is still a little bit of an issue. It's certainly not as bad as it was. West Bloomfield, we were pretty fortunate. We didn't get hit as hard as a lot of communities, and thanks to the leadership in our community, we actually had foreclosure seminars, and we actually marketed our foreclosed homes. We would have built like these big boards, and we'd have the pictures of the home and all the specs on the homes, because we wanted these homes to be re-inhabited as quickly as possible. The worst thing for a home is for it to be a vacant home. And although we also as a township board passed a vacant property ordinance, there's always going to be blight and other issues if you don't have a home being occupied by a family. And also we want those families to send their kids to our schools. So we have a lot of incentive to keep our homes occupied. Oakland County has a lot of wonderful programs such as the Step Forward program, and they've really been making big strides in trying to help homeowners stay in their home. If there are any homeowners out there that are having issues, if you call Oakland County, they do have an entire group devoted to helping you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Weingarden.
Okay.
In your opinion, has the governor's multiple business tax cuts spurred economic growth in our community?
As far as the governor, he and I don't tend to see eye to eye. I have not really personally agreed with a lot of his measures. I have not, as I mentioned earlier, been happy to see the education budgets continuously cut, because I think educating our youth is the most important thing. I think it is important to make sure that we are doing business cuts that are going to help our small businesses. And that's another thing, that if you look at the diversity of West Bloomfield, usually the people who come from different countries, immigrants, tend to be the people who start small businesses. And we really need to focus on making sure our small business owners are successful, our schools are getting the funding they need, and our municipalities are getting the revenues they're supposed to receive. So I don't personally agree with the agenda of our current state government.
Thank you, Mr. Hussain.
Yes, I definitely don't agree with the Republican agenda, and I think a lot of it is, as Teri has mentioned, in terms of the core infrastructure, school system, the small business sustenance and growth of small businesses. But besides that, I think a lot of the larger companies, as we all know, why they are being drawn towards the south, where we have, it's called we are called the Motor City, and there is a lot of infrastructure that resides supporting the big OEMs. And that is one of the things that I think would, in the long term, would help in terms of tax breaks and things of that sort to draw more businesses here and or stay in Michigan, and ultimately contribute towards this revenue. And hopefully, majority of those residents would be focused on staying in West Bloomfield, or picking West Bloomfield as a residency. So,
thank you. The next question will start with Mr. Hussain. Please tell us how you would handle communications and customer service at the treasurer's desk.
Well, that is one of my has been my primary concern, and I don't want to point fingers in terms of the 17 so years that I have lived here. I have responsibilities for a subdivision which has about 177 homes, and I have I am the president as well as the treasurer and vice president of that subdivision, and and that's the thing is that having customer centric service is what I truly believe in, and I think in terms of either it's the treasurer's office or the clerk's office or the supervisors, nobody should be unreachable. And besides that, I also would like to have an online system where you can voice your concerns and or issues that needs to be addressed. And as I've said, I don't want to point fingers, but I have a number of issues that are unsolved for a number of years. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weingarden.
Customer service to me is the most important thing we do in the township. In my opinion, if we don't have good customer service, we could close our doors and put everything online. And I make sure my staff knows that. When people walk into town hall, they usually walk into the doors by my department. So we are the very first people they see. And I tell my staff, we are the face of the township. And I tell them they need to make sure they're professional and friendly, and they are. You have to think about when people come to the treasurer's department, they're usually giving us money. And people don't really like to give us money. So our goal is that when everyone walks away from our counter, that they will have a smile on their face. And if people can pay us money and have a smile on their face, I think we're doing a very good job. In fact, my staff has done such a good job that people come and they ask for them. And all of them have their favorite customers. We also have a lot of people bring their dogs and we give treats. So that helps.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you the other question that we asked the other panel earlier. In support of the Regional Transit Authority, what do you think that would do for the township?
To me?
And we'll start with Ms. Weingarden.
Thank you. We've had the SMART system in place in West Bloomfield for quite a few years now. And what people might not realize is Parks and Recreation is a huge component of that service. We actually have a shuttle service where the shuttles are provided by SMART to Parks and Recreation, and then they do scheduling for our seniors to go to their medical appointments. So I think regional transportation is important, but what I would say is as we pass these millages, what's really also very important is that we negotiate to make sure SMART continues to give us the busing resources we need and the money we need so that we can increase the service, because we have a higher demand than we do the ability to meet the needs of our residents here. So it'd be really great if all of our seniors could get to their appointments and also attend some of our social events, because our community doesn't really rely on the SMART buses as much to get them to and from work as they do to get them to and from their appointments.
Thank you. Mr. Hussain.
Yes, I definitely support that. And in terms of the smart bus system, yeah, and I think the critical aspects of it of that is as it was shared earlier, was that the neighboring adjoining cities to have a cap on the millage hike, rather than having to absorb all the expenses for and to justify the expense to the taxpayers. But that definitely helps in terms of either it's seniors or the smart bus system that we have, that goes passes on Orchard Lake Road, because folks those who doesn't have vehicles and obviously are restricted, that gives them the opportunity to get to medical appointments or or events or whatever it might be, and so yes, I definitely do agree, but it needs to be worked out with the neighboring adjacent communities.
Thank you, and this will be the last question prior to the closing remarks. Do you think, and we'll start with Mr. Hussain, do you think the current assessments and taxes are fair and realistic?
Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry about that. Well, fair to a point. I would say, but the thing is, there's a lot more that can be done, and that's what I what I believe in, and or at least in terms of the taxes going up, in return. For example, if you give me the opportunity to explain, with an example, if that's okay, is that school system. If you compare the school system to Farmington Hills versus West Bloomfield, the millage, the rate is significantly higher here, and I would suggest in terms of instead of tax hike, the individuals that are coming, our kids that are coming from the out of the West Bloomfield area, there ought to be some kind of a tuition system, so it helps us enhance our township revenue, but. In order to answer your question and ending my comment is that in a way I agree to a point, but
Thank you, Ms. Weingarden.
Everyone always wants their taxes to be lower. The truth of the matter is we're a township, so we're different than a city. In a city, there are more services provided, but your taxes tend to be a little higher. In a township, you can pick and choose some of the services that are included. I think that actually, sorry guys, the taxes in West Bloomfield are quite reasonable. We do not levy the full amount we can. And actually, when unfortunately the property values fell about 30%, because of Proposal A, we can only increase taxes very incrementally. So the only time your taxes are really going to go up is when you sell your property. So the next owner, it's going to uncap and they're going to have to pay more taxes. But if you stay in your home for a long time, your taxes really won't go up very much. We do have very fair processes in place. If people feel their taxes are too high, they can go through a board of review legally through the township, and we're always willing to listen if you have questions about your taxes or your assessments.
Thank you. That concludes the questions, and now we will start with closing remarks in reverse order with Ms. Weingarden.
Well, I just again wanted to thank the League of Women Voters and all the people out there for coming and giving us the opportunity to share our viewpoints. I think it's really important to be an informed voter, and I hope this really does get out the vote on August 2nd. I wanted to thank you for making me your treasurer for the last 2 terms. I would be very honored if you would consider making me your treasurer again. I promise that I will always serve you in a very honest way, and I will always remember, as I said before, that as a public servant, I serve you. So it is important for me to always provide excellent customer service, to be open to your needs, to be available, every day if you want to call me or email me, and just to make sure that I'm listening to your viewpoints and doing a good job for you. When I serve on the Township Board, I want to make sure also I'm representing your interests, and I just would really appreciate your vote on August 2nd. Thanks.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters would like...
Wait.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Mr. Hussain.
Thank you for getting me. Well, thank you for the opportunity this evening, and giving me the privilege to highlight some of my expertise and the skill sets that I am bringing on. I am, as you are all aware of, is that beyond the treasury role, I plan on bringing some business process transformational skill sets, which is a wholehearted effort to change the dynamics of the township as to how it operates, and that is one of and has been one of my highlights in regards to why I decided to come on board in terms of running for this role. But besides that is that it needs to be a productive, fruitful effort in terms of having a common goals set and working together. Whether it's the elected officials and the trustees needs to work together to achieve those goals and deliver on them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, Civic Center TV, and the candidates for making this forum possible. For further nonpartisan information on these candidates, check the League of Women Voters website for our voter guide. It's lwvoa.org. Rebroadcast time will be posted on Civic Center TV's schedule. Please check that. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businesses and citizens. Membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. Remember to vote August 2, 2016. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you and good night.